The quick and the dead. The NBC News and Special Events Department present the spectacular document for ear on the atomic bomb under the direction of Fred Friendly.
This is Bob Hope. You see this piece of white, shiny metal about the size of, say, a package of cigarettes? You see this piece in my other hand about the same size? Together they weigh, a few pounds. Both are hunks of uranium. Now, I take one and gently I tap it against the other. Now, hold on to your seats. That's an atomic explosion, just like the one that blew up Hiroshima. Two pieces of ore, and you bang them together, and you can destroy a city. Why? What has man done to these two pieces of metal? Now, you're probably leaning back and saying to yourself, what on earth is Hope doing talking about atomic energy? What does he know about physics? And you'd be right. I didn't even know what fission meant. Don't let that last word scare you. Fission is simply atom language for explosive, or that an atom is so small that there are over 1 billion of them in every drop of water. That is until 3 weeks ago. I happened to look at my income tax form, and I realized that I was a very big taxpayer, and I knew that an awful big part of that tax was going toward atomic energy plants, of which I knew less than nothing. So one day I figured as long as I'm financing this project, I ought to kind of check up on things. So when I was in New York, I was sitting around chatting with some of the boys in the newsroom, and then we got around to the atom. I told the boys I felt like a rube not knowing more about the subject and asked them to give me a quick once-over.
This is Bob Trout in the newsroom. Let me tell you about Mr. Hope and how he became NBC's unofficial atomic expert. At first, we thought Hope was kidding when he said he wanted to get a little tutoring on atomic energy, and we told him to go see some scientists, like Einstein or Oppenheimer or Compton.
No, that's not the kind of guy for me to talk to. I wouldn't know what they were talking about. I need a guy that talks atom like Bill Corum or Red Smith writes baseball.
Then, Bob, the man for you to see is Lawrence.
Who?
Bill Lawrence of the New York Times. He's their science reporter, a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner, and the only reporter allowed backstage at the building of the bomb. You go see Lawrence and tell him the boys in the newsroom sent you over.
So what was I going to do? I'd asked for advice, so I had to at least make some kind of a gesture toward following it. I called Lawrence, and he told me to stop by for a drink. I walked east to his apartment on 72nd Street down by the river, climbed the 4 floors to his apartment, and knocked.
Come in, Mr. Hope.
I was a little surprised. He certainly didn't look like a hot reporter or my idea of a Pulitzer Prize winner. He was medium height, about 55 or so, with a rather thoughtful face and a slight accent. A little European and a little Harvard, I learned later. He sat me down by a window, asked me quite a few questions about Hollywood and Bing Crosby. Then this guy told me the darndest detective story I ever heard. I got so much out of it, I thought I'd like to share Bill Lawrence's story with you.
It wasn't really my story. It was man's story. And perhaps the biggest news story of the 20th century. I was privileged to be tapped on the shoulder by the Army and given the assignment that every newspaperman dreams of.
Mr. Lawrence, we want you to work for us for a few months. It'll be on a highly secret, and it'll be a very important program.
The general was Leslie R. Groves of the Corps of Engineers.
We can't tell you where you're going. All we can say is that you come to Washington and start to work. It's an important story. Maybe. It's a story that we only want one man working on, and you're the man.
Well, needless to say, Bill, you accepted General Groves' offer. Before you go into the business of how they discovered, then made the bomb, I wondered if you would mind going right to the last chapter of the story first and telling me about the first atomic bomb you ever saw go off.
The first atomic blast I ever saw was the first one that man had ever seen. On July 16, 1945, a caravan of scientists in buses and trucks moved along Route 380 in the New Mexico desert, through sleepy little towns like Los Lunas, Belen, and Bernardo, into the Sierra Oscura mountain range. There, near an abandoned reservoir at Alamogordo, the titanic labors of our scientists were to be tested.
Attention! 0 hour! Minus 45 seconds.
A voice rang out somewhere in the black darkness and filled the night. It was almost 5:30 in the morning. A cold drizzle had been falling since midnight, and there was talk that the test might even be called off.